Good day, everyone. Just my regular live stream, just randomly popping up and saying hello. Hopefully, this is working. I'm still learning and getting the hang of it, by the way, but seems to be working better now. I was trying to change the layout a bit, trying to tweak it, trying to get the best view, right? So I think I got the videos a little bit bigger now. So that should help for those who want to see what it looks like. So I'm just going to head over here to the YouTube view to make sure it's actually working. And there it is. Nice. Alrighty. So as I was saying, just my regular logging in and saying hello. I hope the quality is well. And, just taking a bit of time to say hello because I do come in random, so it's not like I expect hundreds of people to show up right away, but I really do have to start working on scheduling here since people are really enjoying the live streams. I would definitely be open to scheduling this better, but it's been so hectic, especially in the summertime, right? You commit to a certain time and then something happens and then you can't do it. So, yeah, I've been pretty well random, but I would like to eventually make it more orderly. So that'll be good. So, those who have been watching for a while, I've been just, I guess screwing around would be a good word with it. The power cells, just saying, curiosity, my own thing here. And I've been trying different things here. There's a new one here that's working excellent, by the way. The sodium metasilicate cell with the painted cardboard as the electrode here. And I made another one here, which I'll get into. Already nice and solid and dry. Very solid state. So, yeah. Um, we're having a nice day here, believe it or not, summer weather-wise. Well, if you consider 24 degrees Celsius a nice day, I guess in relative to 18 degrees with rain or even 10 degrees with rain, I'll take it, right? But kind of thinking of maybe moving away down south pretty soon. It's just even health-wise, these last couple of years, in the Cochrane area, Northern Ontario, it's just so brutal, kick starts my muscular spasms, just a slight draft, a cool draft. The earlier years, I was able to, there's age too, right? So I was younger, and then I'd look forward to summer because it'd be like, oh my goodness, 4 months maybe of relief of all these spasms from the cold. But now in the last couple of years, summer has been so screwed up, 10-degree highs, and here I am cranking the heat and getting all spastic in the middle of the summertime when I've been to like I basically lived in New York City. So I know I'm not affected out there. So, it's basically a no-brainer as to what is triggering all this, and it's not getting better with age. So it's just opportunities and finances and everything else, right? I mean, you can't just jump in your car and go when you feel like it. But it isn't the long-term vision because, my poor body is just having a hard time with this. So, yeah, I'm just looking at the chat here. Yeah, it's really cool. Some people are already finding it here. Yeah, I'm early today. See, that's the thing, totally random, right? I figured I got an hour. I'm going to go on here and say hello. So, yeah, just waiting a few more minutes and then I'll get into it. And what else to talk about here? Oh my goodness. Um, Honestly, I wish I could play music because I see all these streams. I don't know how they do it, but every time I do it, I get nailed with copyright or the monetization setting or something. And basically, these days, I mean, don't laugh. I've tried MIDI files, like the old style MIDI files, and just the likeness of a similar, YouTube finds it. and says, no, can't use that. I mean, like, really, really plain MIDI files. And it's saying, oh, this sounds too much like this composition here, so either you pay the copyright fee or you pull it off. And when you're live, it's hard to manage that live, and you don't get bleeped out or whatever. But man, I've seen some, podcasts, and I don't know how to do it, when they're waiting for people and stuff like that. They're just there playing the music, chilling in the background, and everybody's chatting. Meanwhile, every time I try doing that, YouTube goes, no way, you can't. I mean, it's almost like I'm as desperate enough to like play classical in the background just to say I've got something, right? But even that gets hit. And it's unfortunate because a lot of it, it comes, I don't know why, but like around India, like people from India are copywriting like Mozart and things like that, like claiming it, So then you play classical music, which is public domain, by the way. Then you have to file a claim. You're going to win because it's public domain, but you got to go through the system. It takes a month for YouTube to fix it. I guess they know most people don't do that and they get to monetize off of it. But yeah, I mean, again, my point is on the spot is very difficult to try and figure out, who's going to temporarily put even on classical music. But maybe they use stuff like Fruity Loops or something, if that's still a thing, and then make their own backbed rhythms or something and just chill to that. I don't know. Maybe that's what you got to do these days. Because I don't know. I like to wait a little bit for people to come in to say hello, but then I run out of things to say. But there's only so many ways to say hello after like 10 minutes of saying hello. And then it starts getting into word salad. So with that said, here's the latest cell that I was working on yesterday. And this one here is a little bit different. So again, the same cardboard as an electrode here. And the anode is the foil here all around. So I took advantage of using the actual case as the electrode, just trying to keep everything as simplified. And this here, because I don't want to, with the friction, take away the conductive layer from the cardboard, I just got this one on the top. I painted it when it was wet and it made like a glue. It holds it there. But it's a nice, because, if I want to grab a contact out of here, it won't get used. Like, I want to preserve the plate, right? So, different composition here. Um, this is literally, you can eat this one. It's edible. Well, I don't know about the cardboard, but this is literally like, well, it's candy is what it is. Um, Melted white sugar over the stove into a liquid, and I put maybe a couple tablespoons of peg powder in there. The peg also melts. No need to add water. And when it was a goo, just poured it in there, placed my plate in there. Didn't need to even condition it. It self-conditioned itself as it dries and hardens. And now it puts out about 0.6 to 0.7 of a volt, and it makes a nice capacitor in the range of about 100 PF. I've been able to charge it to like credible amounts because I'm testing the dielectric, but it's natural, so I'm starting now. So we can short this out to show you, just so people don't accuse me of saying you pre-charged it. Yeah, okay. So here I go, shortening it out completely shortened out here. No tricks. You gotta wait a few moments, right, if it's a capacitor. So we're shorting it out, making sure there's no residual from me messing around with it. And this is basically sugar. It's candy. It's hardened candy. Makes a pretty interesting dielectric, and like I said, it self-conditions itself as it hardens as an electret from its electrostatic potential that it builds up temporarily in the wet state. As it dries, just like kind of like the hot wax melting, and you're making an electret and it hardens. But the difference here is you don't need to put an external charge, just things sets it up electrostatically, which is pretty cool, really. So you saw it, shorted it out for some time. I got my meter here. I don't know if we're all going to see that. So I'm going to go to the anode here, which is the tin foil. Okay. And we're going to go to, this is set to DC. So there it is, 0.78. As I said, right, and we shorted it out for quite a while, and it comes right back up. But needless to say, I could charge this to 20, 40, 50 as a capacitor and have a one-time high joule discharge, but the difference is this is the resting potential on it. It never goes to zero is what I'm getting at. And it's just candy, hardened candy, sugar, electrolyte, and dielectric. It's solid state. And like I said, it completely self-conditioned itself. I didn't need to initially add any charge whatsoever. When the sugar was melted and poured in there, like I said, it set up its own electrostatic potential and conditioned itself as it hardened and cooled down, just like an electret, but self-conditioning electret. So I'm just reading some of the comments. You can make your own songs. Yeah. I asked AI, maybe it's better now, but about 6 months ago, I asked it, can you make me a fancy MIDI file for an introduction to my show? It was horrible what it was coming up with. It was like, okay, I'll just take my old keyboard and do something myself by ear. But maybe it's like, yeah, it must be so much better now. So anyways, just taking the time to say hello to everyone who was just joining us here. I was just rambling on about some various power cells, capacitors, electrets, and everything in between that I've been working with, just, personal kind of like on the hobby level right now. And very interesting successes with varying types and everything, right? So, yeah. Oh, as far as the MIDI thing, I know what you said. It was making a not bad melody. Then I'm like, okay, add some chords to that. Then it went, from that point, it was like, oh boy, no, never mind. No, I'm just reading some of the comments here about people saying to use AI to make your music because I'd like to have like music in the background when I'm live without getting nailed with YouTube notices, especially live. Then they like freeze your stream, not freeze it, but mute and all that. And it's so difficult to manage live on the spot. But I notice there's something missing because the people who go on for like 3, 4 hours, they'll go silent and start working on something for 5, 10 minutes, and there's the music playing in the background, and everyone's just, chilling in the chat room. Um, I get winded, out of words, while I'm just waiting for something. So, how many cells am I going to combine or just testing? Oh, I'm just testing for fun. I've been doing these power cells for a couple years now. You see, it started with the PEG cells. So here's different variants of them. This one is getting close to 2 years old now. And I bet you if I take a reading, it'll still put out something. And at first people were scrutinizing, it's going to corrode, it's no good. All you've done is, it's a simple galvanic cell, blah, 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 right? And, we're going on to, this is going to be 2 years now. So let's see. So I got a drawer full of them because I never throw them out. I'm still testing them to see how long they're actually going to last. So the foil plate here is the anode, and the cathode is the carbon. 1.1, 1.16, I don't know if you can see that. Sitting in my drawer for almost 2 years. Haven't done anything to it. I've got another one that runs a clock on the square cell somewhere. But this one is one of my first batches ever. I have videos going back if you want to go into my YouTube of actually building these live. So I'm not joking about the time frame. Same with this one here, same idea, but I've done a lot of experiments. There's a piezo in plate in between this, and I use the piezo as the electrode. But same material, peg, and it's this stuff here. You can buy in various sources, but the most prominent one is this one here, Restorlax. And glycol 3350 peg, because there's different compositions and some people have tried and apparently it doesn't work. So everything that's peg 3350 so far has given me very incredible results, but that's just part of it, right? This one here is not even peg. This is sodium metasilicate. So is this one here. So I've been experimenting with a lot of different compositions, essentially trying to yield a solid state electret and potentially self-regaging from the vacuum, the environment, electrostatic, mega electron volt, quantum, whatever, right? So if it can couple two external systems, all the best, John Hutchison was doing a lot of that too with his Zamboni piles with the barium titanate. But looking at more practical versions, that's basically where I started. So someone asked if I put it in a cage. I'm sure it still will produce power. I do have a cage right. If you want me to do the test right away, I can show you. It's actually a good one. Never thought of it. I know it won't. It works, but for someone to see, I'll get the cage right now and show you. Don't mind me on the spot. It's just that's a great idea. All right. So just make sure there's room in this big thing and take all the. I'm just using it for storage for my hydrogen stuff. Just gonna pull this out of here for now. A lot of stuff in here. I'm gonna find another place. It's not appropriate to have that in this thing. It was just an easy way to put it away. But I have to dedicate. So here it is. So we'll set something up here. We've got some wires over here, or clips. And we'll put, let's see, where is it? The small one. I had it a moment ago. What did I do with it? Put it back in the drawer here. So yeah, so we'll connect the cell. That's no, I want to keep my wires positive over here, negative over here. So it's not a magic trick where it's being driven externally. But you know, some people would think that, right? I never thought, you know, let's show this in a big metal cage and expect the same result, right? Here it is. We're going to put it in the metal cage here. I'm going to carefully place that in there. Make sure my contacts are well. Okay. It's in there. There. Oh my goodness. All right. Put that in the middle. Close that carefully. Nice and tight. Okay. Shielded from the external world. We have our two wires that come out here. The voltmeter. Okay. Connect the alligator negative to the negative. And the positive to the positive. What do you see, folks? 1.141. 1.1, yeah, 1.141. 1.144 flickers. These things flicker a little bit, but yeah, that's that. Right in the freaking metal cage, all alone, nothing in there. I took it all out. You saw it live. I actually got a mess on the floor now. But what was in here? So, all right. So now to take this off of my lap. And that's the cell that's almost 2 years old, by the way. It's like one of my oldest cells. Ugh. This thing is so heavy. It's hard to manipulate. Come on. All right. There's our star. Right here. That's all it was. And I just keep these in the drawer because I have in one of the drawers because I got no place for them and I don't want to throw them away because still active research, right? How long will they actually last? And no corrosion. It's been this long and no corrosion. So I'm just gonna grab like a bag to put all this stuff in here because I want to keep my cage free. Right here. Alrighty, just gonna clean up the ground here. Don't step on any of the things. So I hope you all liked that demonstration. Oh my goodness. Sure left myself with a mess in here. Out of sight, out of mind, right? Now the hydrogen stuff is a lot of fun. It's got to be set up for it, and it's a whole thing. I've got like USB sensors that come with this kit and everything, and the software drivers for it. track your cells live. And so I will be with you in a moment. It's a good thing you don't see my floor right now. All right. I got everything that has to do with the hydrogen cells. Right, I'll find a spot for that. Then get back to over here. All right, hello again, everyone who's watching and just joining us. I was just randomly talking about power cells, and someone had the question, what happens when you put it in a shielded cage? So I tried that, and of course, it works just fine. And I also showed the new power cell I made out of sugar that I warmed up into a syrup and then poured and made it self-conditioned itself into an electret, completely hard and cold now, just like hard candy. And I shortened it out completely live and then showed it that it goes right back up right away. So if there's something on the scope, I have shown that. Some of them produce random, really you got to put, like if you put a capacitor in between, you see all of them. Others have demonstrated, if you look in the forums, Joel Legacy Quantum Power Cell, there's whole topics about it. And others are showing scope shot as well with the fluctuations. You do see what happens is the ions hop around and that creates electrostatic displacements which appear as, you know, random low level, but they're there, right? There's fluctuations. So most of these kind of solid state cells all do. It's like an inherent design of the way the ion hops. So, like, I don't have the answer to every question. It's only been a couple years, but it's looking really good. Like looking at some of these ones here, you know, like this one was made with PEG, right? And people were initially saying, oh, it's all going to evaporate within 2 weeks and ha ha ha, they're all going to flatten out and they're going to, no, you know, still good. And people do comment once in a while and they still say that their PEG cells are okay. So, yeah. Um, so basically what I want to do is slowly get into it here. This is one of the cells, which put out quite a bit. It's pretty good. But, you know, there's not a really current to them. They're more of a potential thing. So thinking of driving a transistor here. Now the thing is I've been able to run small oscillators with these, but as soon as I try and do something constructive with it, like drive another transistor to switch a load or dump, or there's just not enough oomph there. It just never, you know, I can't basically run anything ever more than one transistor before the whole thing goes boom. So I was thinking here, you know, have a dual set because I have a lot of these cells now. So still up in the air, just something I'm probably going to experiment with tonight. Set up an oscillator to this air core here. I already got it set up for basically flyback mode. And I've got the scope on there. There's nothing actually because it's just monitoring, but wanted basically a Joe Thief style. Set this most simple oscillator here. But instead of trying to use the transistor directly and then add another one as a buffer stage, you see, that actually switches a capacitor. This is where I end up, I'm not having enough for the switching. It doesn't drive it right directly. I guess because it's not all high Z, right? So instead, I'm going to try and tap into the magnetic component to do that through this coil here. You know, it's kind of like Don Smith-ish. I've got a secondary-ish in here, which I'm hoping is going to induce anywhere between half to 1 volt when this is going at maybe 50 or something. And then take the field, which is isolated. Well, you know, it's not the direct connection to it no more. And through its own high Z path, use that to switch the second transistor, which would then switch the second cell like a capacitor. That now, you see what's interesting about these power cells, folks, is it's not a traditional thing where once you've pulsed a joule, let's say, you've lost that in your input. These here, by the time you pulse them again, self-regauge themselves so they're ready for the next pulse. Unlike this is basically the keeping the dipole open in your source, like Tom Bearden would explain. So the key difference here, which is very important with these power cells, which shifts the whole category of all these projects, is their self-regaging abilities. So what ends up happening is once this triggers a pulse through its oscillation, and I've got a second system here, let's say this one here, and this is charging a small cap, and the second transistor is going to switch that small cap, right? Through the field dynamic of the secondary here, that'll do the switching. But what's interesting is every time I do a joule switch, it regauges itself and charges the capacitor for next. That isn't lost in the input like a traditional system. It finds, so what happens is it'll always provide me that 1.1 volt at that joule every discharge. So what's interesting is in traditional systems, when you try and recycle that joule around and back into the input, you had your traditional losses to account for, and then you end up with less in the input unless you've coupled with the environment or something else, which is completely legit. But keeping it simple as a closed loop, your SOL, right? But because this thing self-regauges itself, it kind of changes the game a little bit here. And those who have been following me for a while understand that the current comes from the pure potential and the gradient difference. So if we can, for free, switch it through coils and transformers, and then I'm not there yet, but through this high Z loop, and get like 1,000 volts out here, and charging that capacitor, and then the 1,000 volts is being discharged back into the input here because it's also a capacitor. What I'm getting at is its feedback is able to actually raise its own potential. And because it self-regauges, it makes up for the loss that would have been during a joule cycle back into the input. So through like the joule thief setup and everything, through the magnetics and resonance, you can highly step it up, and the cell itself will keep. I want to make an experiment and see how high it can go before the dielectric breakdown, because in theory, it'll just keep going higher and higher and higher because it's able to regauge itself after every impulse, right? So if a 1.1 volt spike equals a 50 volt output that I send back into it, and then for a moment it goes up to 50 volts, it's giving me 50 volts, let's say 1 milliamp. Then I cycle that through the system, I boost it up to 100 volts, then the next charge is an output of 100 volts. See, the current stays the same, 1 milliamp, but the potential keeps going up, which means the current has more bang every time it goes through the cycle. You see? A traditional system wouldn't operate like that. But even at very, very microscopic levels, because we're dealing with a gradient difference, and that's what matters in our context, if it's wired properly to take advantage of that looping, like I said, in theory, I should be able to bring it up all the way until the dielectric breakdown, whichever that may be, in the thousands, maybe even kilovolts 100 kV range, maybe even. I don't know that, but it's something to try. But the point is, this thing will literally self-amplify itself because if you understand, 1 milliamp at 1 volt is not very much. But once the next impulse is 5 volts 1 milliamp, it's a little bit more. When the next discharge is 1 milliamp 10 volts, and then on it goes like that very quickly, and then you're up to like, 5, 6, 700 volts 1 milliamp, then you're actually getting watts, real, what the system would see as real watts. So something I want to try because again, in theory, but theory is always one thing, and then there's the real life. So I'm sure it will keep me busy because, like I said, I've been always having problems because one can't handle more than one transistor and it won't do anything but run on its own. So I figured, use the field dynamics. The secondary will trigger the second transistor through the field to switch and dump the second cell, and then recycle the power back into them. Poof. So each cycle, there's a stronger discharge. But then, assuming the transistor and everything can take it, right? So I have to consider the bias resistance and all of that. But yeah, in theory, until circuit or dielectric breakdown, this should boost, 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 right? But obviously with a little transistor, I'm not going to get anywhere, but you see one can take this concept and probably really refine it. It's just about finding a way, whichever you want to get, whatever loss you make in your loop, you want to get it back from the environment, however you set yourself up, whether it's wind, solar, a little bit of everything, borrowing a field from the AM transmitter down the street, whatever, right? I mean, find a way, and it's non-linear, and you'll be right in the Tom Bearden domain in no time. So just keeping everyone in the loop with what I'm working on, what my curiosities are, and what I have in mind, why I have it in mind. So yeah, parallel peg impulse technology. It's very Tesla-ish. You create an impulse, you send it back, but by the time you send it back, the system already recovered from the energy it used. So then it stacks up. So the next time you get like, very quickly speaking, double the impulse power. Then it sends it back and does its thing, amplifies the potential. Then it sends it back again, poof. And then you start doing that really, really fast on multiple systems, right? Like maybe nanoscale this into like thousands of cells and you've got megawatt. I know, but I don't want to give anyone bad ideas here, because they'll use it for the, everyone wants to use everything for the bad. But essentially that's what it boils down to. You got it right on. You stack a bunch of these, you bring the size of them down to something manageable where, you can have 100 of these within, a small area, and all synchronized. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, that's about it. I guess I'm for tonight because getting into this is going to be like a 6 hour thing, unless I stream it again without knowing. But if that happens, whatever. With that said, I hope everyone has a great day or what's left of it, and I hope I clarified a few things. I've been doing these power cells now for a couple of years, so I sort of begin to understand what I can and what I can't do with them, and how I'm trying to push them a little bit more, right? So, and the light of Tom Bearden perspective, right? Keeping the dipole open, and siphoning off the potential well, nonlinear interactions, and use the gradient difference to power your load. So what we're doing is trying to create that gradient difference for basically next to free using the environment essentially for it, which any way, shape, form that you can do it. I just happen to be using these cells, but whichever way you want to go. Tesla used much more dangerous methods, that's for sure. And with that said, have yourselves all a great day and thank you for watching.